Hey guys. Okay, we are back. We had a volume problem, but we're hoping that it's good to go now. I'm Davina. This is Hobart. Can you guys hear us? Nothing, huh? Test 1 2 3, huh? This is Hobart. Can you guys hear us? Oh yeah, it looks like it's working. Nothing, huh? It's working. Okay, don't touch anything on the desk. Like it's working. Okay, Hobart.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button. Okay. So today we're going to talk about our Navy Federal Credit Union loan. All right. Go for it.
I really have nothing to say. All right, guys. It's kind of due to technical difficulties, we have to kind of start this whole thing all over again. But just to kind of somebody requested and they wanted us to go through the whole process, the loan process. And what we want to tell you is how we experienced the loan process coming here to Philippines. Now, there's different ways that you can go about this, but what we're going to tell you is how we set ourselves up for success before we even started that loan process. And how do we do that?
Prior to coming to the Philippines, we got a Philippine loan. No, a Philippine bank account. So we opened up a national Philippine national bank account while we were in the States, and we were able to like establish an account. That was like a really good part of our pre like planning.
Okay. So once that's done, the second thing that you want to do is if you're planning to go through Navy Federal, right? If you have background in military, go through Navy Federal, and you want to establish that bank account before you come here to Philippines. That is key because that prevents you from having to send in documentations, fax things. Because once you have the Navy Federal application, you can communicate with Navy Federal through the app, email, and it's a secure, it's a secure email. Basically, it's a messaging system. And so what happened is that after we were here for about 3 days, 4 days, we started looking at vehicles, and we went to we looked at Toyota, we looked at Mitsubishi, and ultimately we ended up deciding to not buy to buy a Ford, right? A Ford Everest, uh, a Ford Everest, and it was the Ford Everest Wild Truck. And so when we went to the dealership, what had to happen is like, all right, is this a color that you want? Yeah, that's a color we want. Okay, this is the price that we are quoting you for. It's written down on a piece of paper, and on that same sheet of paper, it's like, okay, this is the price that you want that we're giving you. It's got the engine number, the chassis number, the VIN number. It's got the color of the vehicle. It's got the name, the model, and all these things. And my son is just trying to sneak over there. He's trying to be a sneaky monkey, but I saw him. And so once you have all that documentation, what they're going to say is like, okay, Ford is going to say, well, how do we know that you are serious about purchasing this vehicle? So you have to give us some money to kind of for us to hold the vehicle, and that holding fee is basically 10,000 peso, which goes towards the loan,
or and that's like $200.
That's yeah, that it's equivalent to $200. That's not that bad. So I have the documentation, I have the information in front of me, and what I did was I called Navy Federal and I said, "Hey, Navy Federal, I am, I was in the military. I'm retired. I have banking with you guys. I would like to apply for a loan. I am currently here in Philippines. Is that something that you guys are able to do?" And basically, they said, "Yes, we're able to do that." What make, model? We need the VIN number. We need all these things in order for us to actually put in for the loan. And so I gave them the color, make, model, VIN number, chassis, engine number, and all that stuff. But the most important thing is the make, model, year, color, and the VIN number. All that other stuff is great for you to have for additional information, but those are the only things that they need for them to process your request. About 3 to 5 days later, after they filled that request, and this is the reason why you need to establish yourself with Navy Federal before you get here, is that they already had all of my information. Okay, they had, my address, who I was, bank information, whatever. And so it was easy for me to just talk to the person on the phone and say, this is me, this is what I want, this is the information they're requesting. And there, I didn't have to send him any paperwork, documentation, or anything like that. I didn't start sending him stuff until basically we got the loan was approved. So between 3 business days to 5 business days, they came back and they said, yeah, no problem, we can approve you for a loan for the entire amount. Okay, all right, sounds good. And they said, can you get the dealership? How do you want to process this? There's 1 or 2 ways that you can do this. Is one, you can give us the dealership's name, their bank, and their account number and their SWIFT code, right? Because the United States federal uh, currency, the currency in the U.S. does not directly work with the ones over here. They need a SWIFT code. They're not in the SWIFT system, and they're in the Federal Reserve Bank. So what happened was that I had to get that information from the dealership, right? That's the first way you can do it. Or the second way is that Navy Federal can fund you the amount of money directly to your bank account. Okay. So I tried to do it the first way. And I said, all right, so let me get the dealership's information. I provided it to them. And because it was a dealership name, a dealership account number, a dealership bank, I had to go through the application and send them an email saying, hey, this is the name of that account number, the SWIFT code, all the things that they requested. And then I sent it to them. And then they said, okay, do you want the money in dollar or do you want it in peso? And that's where kind of the snafu kind of happen, because depending on the exchange rate at that time, the exchange rate was $1 to 56 peso. And so they said, depending on the exchange rate, the dealership might get more than what you're asking for. And I said, huh. So and then I started talking to Navy Federal, and they were very helpful. I said, well, what are the chances that they're gonna give me back my money if you guys send them too much? And they're like, well, there is no there is no guarantee. And so the lady on the phone was like, so what do you want to do? Do you want to move forward with it? Or do you want to go with another option? And she gave me the other option. I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and go the other way, the other route, which is send it directly to my bank account. So later on, I learned that if you are sending to third party and it's more than $3,000, what you have to do is fill out the application, uh, um, the app, fill out the information in the application, and they can process through it. They can process it. But if it's from your bank, right, from Navy Federal, your the loan, and you have a banking with them, to your own direct bank, you can just call them up and say, hey, my name is this. This is my account number here in Philippines, and can you please transfer this amount to this amount? And what they'll do is they'll process that transfer immediately. And then it still takes like 5 to 7 business days, but you don't have to go through the whole process of like sending it through the email and then them getting the information. And what I had to do was kind of like go back and forth and making sure that the account number and all that stuff is correct. So if it's from your bank to your bank, right, there is no minimum. You can just call them up and say, hey, do the transfer. But if it's your bank in the US, right, Navy Federal Bank, to a third party, if it's more than 3,000, what they have to do is you have to go through the portal, the application, and send it an email requesting that. If it's more than 3,000, if it's less than 3,000, you can just call them up and then they can do the confirmation right away. Now, something that I also learned is that you can cancel the process up to 30 minutes after you said yes. Anything after 30 minutes, you can't undo the process. All right. And so it wasn't a problem at all. So after the loan was approved 3 to 5 days, and I started the process of kind of like, hey, let's do the transfer. It took about 5 to 7 days before I got the money into my account. So when I got the money into my account, I tried to do bank to bank, right? My Philippine National Bank to, I think, BPI here in Philippines, which is a dealership account. For whatever reason, it wasn't working out. I was gonna have to go to the the bank anyways. So what I decided to do after talking to the dealership is they said, "Hey, why don't you just do a cashier's check or a bank manager's check?" And what I learned is it's the same as a cash basically, because what happens is when you go in there and you have a manager's check written into your name or whoever it is, they actually withdraw that amount from your bank account and then they put it in the check. And if you lose that check, you're done. All right. So you have to be very careful when you do that. So I took that check from the bank. I tried to deposit that check at a BDO or BPI at the time, and they weren't taking it. They said, unfortunately, we cannot process your stuff right now. We won't be able to process it until tomorrow because the bank system is down. And I said,
And we needed a car.
And we needed a vehicle that day. So what I had to do was call the dealership and I said, "Look, can I just drop off the check to you guys?" So that's exactly what I had to do, was kind of drive 2 hours to Baguio, Ford Metro Baguio, and I dropped off the check. They said, "Okay, well, we will see if the check goes through tomorrow. If the check goes through tomorrow, then we will deliver your vehicle in a couple of days." So that went through, and once the check went through, I got a text message from the manager, and he was like, "Hey, the check went through. What we're gonna do now is ask you a few questions. What other stuff, like what color do you want your tint to be? Do you want it to be light, medium, or dark?" And I said, "This is what I want. This is specifications. Great." And Ford Metro Baguio threw in a window visor, like the rain gutter, rain thing, right on the side of the windows. I thought they were going to throw in more. Like I really thought I was going to get an umbrella or something. Unfortunately, I didn't get a bag of rice. I didn't get an umbrella. Right. But it's okay. It's okay because I got the vehicle that I really wanted.
Yeah.
So was there anything that I missed?
I want to go fast forward to where we are today. We have been struggling with the US with the Navy Federal Credit Union. And this is where things kind of get interesting because once you buy a car cash here, you still have a loan in the States. And so the States is used to having the DMV send over like that the car is on lease or has a lien on it, right? And so they're looking for that title. And so that's the problem we've run into. So Holbert's been dealing with that. Tell them your side.
So about a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I got a notice in my Navy Federal application on the portal. It says, "Hey, you need to reach out to us. We are having issues with the title." Right. So this wasn't explained to me, and I hope that this becomes clear to you guys because I went through that whole process. So once you purchase the vehicle, the dealership will give you a whole bunch of documentation. And initially, like the first receipt is you receiving the information. What you paid for is the registration, basically proof that the vehicle is under your name, whatever it is. When you get the license plate, you get the registration, right? And the owner certification. And basically, Navy Federal wants a copy of that, right? They want a copy of it. And what you have to do is take that and send it to titles at navyfederal.org, right? So I sent them all the documentation that I have, which was because the title is different, the registration is different here, and it doesn't look the same. And this was something that I had to go back and forth with Navy Federal, because Navy Federal, some of the people that you talk to over the phone,
their employees they're like reading a prompt or something.
They don't necessarily have an understanding of the process. So the first person I spoke to was a guy, very condescending, and I was like, "Look, I'm just letting you know I'm in Philippines." And he was like, "I don't care that you're in Philippines. This is your responsibility. You go to their DMV and you get this done." And I said, "You know what, man, you're very rude. Let me just talk to somebody else." So in talking to the second person, who was very nice, right? Me and the person, after she did a little digging, realized that all I have to do was send a copy of the certificate and the registration to that title's at navyfederal.org, and what they do is they will process the application for you. um, if you don't do that, if you don't send in, proof of registration and a copy of a receipt that says that you own the vehicle, what happens is the loan that you have, they can bump it up to a higher
They can change it
APR.
into like a personal loan instead of a
Personal loan, yeah.
vehicle loan.
And then you would have to pay for a higher percentage, higher APR, whatever it is. And I didn't want that to happen. So I made sure that I covered it both ways. I sent it to the titles at navyfederal.org, and I also sent it a copy again in the portal, right? So I just received an email back and the portal, and they said, hey, just to verify, are you still in Philippines? And I said, yes, I am still in Philippines. I don't plan on having the vehicle leave Philippines at all. It's going to be my mode of transportation here in Philippines. If I do go back to the United States at any given time, I am not going to take the vehicle with me. It's going to be here in Philippines, and it's going to stay in my possession. And so they just, the Navy Federal just want the warm and fuzzy to make sure that, you didn't con them out of, so many thousands of dollars. And they want to make sure that they do their due diligence to kind of put a lien on the vehicle. Now, we don't process that. I don't process that. According to Navy Federal, I just send them the documentation, and they process that. I am so happy, and I'm so glad, and I'm so relieved that I don't have to send the original documentation to them.
Yeah, because that would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because if I send the original documentation to them, which is not uncommon, we don't know if it's going to get to them or not. Right. And so I'm happy that I'm holding on to the actual registration. I'm holding on to the receipts. I'm holding on to all those things, because at the end of the day, I still have to pay for that loan. They can mess up my credit. They can do all these things. And so I don't want to lose the original, because what I'm told by the dealership is once you lose that original, there goes your proof. That's it. There's nothing else you can do other than, hey, well, yeah, you got it registered under your name, but if you don't have the original, then you don't have the proof.
So. Right. Yeah. Things are way different here in the Philippines. Like the land transportation office, just like trying to go get your license, and there's a lot of different loopholes that you have to go through to get things done here. So it's not the same as in the States. It's not uniform at every office. It's kind of like whoever is sitting at the desk and whatever they decide that day.
Yeah. And that's something that I was talking to Navy Federal about, is that, like, look, it's not as streamlined here in Philippines. Unfortunately, it's a different country. The process and procedures are different. Like LTO, the Land Transportation Office, process and procedure in one building and in one city could be different from the next building or the next city over. And it's not uncommon for people to get what's called fixers. And those people will basically walk your documentation for you and get things that you need, such as registration, such as your license, or whatever it is documentation that you are trying to attain. So for those of you guys who are planning to come here to the Philippines, and you are planning to purchase a vehicle, that is how we did it. Right, that is the process from the beginning all the way to the end. Some things that we've done to set ourselves up for success is opening up that Philippine National Bank account from the US, and we opened it up in LA, and that has been so helpful.
It has been helpful.
It has been very helpful, because that's what I've been using to pay bills online. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been using to transfer money from the dealership to my bank
or
account.
Pay for the AC installation, appliances,
like large sums of, like, buying things from an organization like the AC company.
And if you're looking for the cheapest way to send your money, the fastest and cheapest way is use Navy Federal to send a wire, and you can send as much as you want for $20.
$25.
Oh, it's $25.
Yeah. So
that is the cheapest way. That's the cheapest way. Don't use Remitly. Don't use World. Don't use those other ones. Mm-hmm. Use wire transfer. That's the best way.
So you might ask, if I were to do things all over again, and I was to get a loan all over again, right? And if I knew all the stuff that I knew now, the things that I would change is, one, I would get that information right away, right? Because it's all it is calling the dealership, getting the color, getting the VIN number, getting all these things. Once you have that, then you can start processing the loan while you're in the United States, right? Once you start processing the loan, when you're in the United States, you have that amount in your bank, and when you come to Philippines, you can pay the vehicle off cash, right? Because it's the cash is already in your system, and you wouldn't have to kind of deal with like going back and forth and making sure that the back office is open. So I had to stay up at 11 p.m. here, Philippines, 2 o'clock in the morning here, Philippines, so that way I can communicate with Navy Federal in the United States.
Yeah, the time
Yeah,
difference.
the
He was
time
up
difference,
all night, every
just,
night.
it was just redonkulous. But
Mhm.
that's the only thing I would change is start the loan process when you're in the US, but know which vehicle that you want already. I'll tell you, we drove Toyota, we drove Mitsubishi, we drove Ford. We looked at different variants of Ford. We looked at different vehicles, SUVs. We looked at secondhand vehicles and what was better for us. And in conclusion, what we came up with is that we're going to be staying here in Philippines long term. And when we do go back to Philippines, we're eventually going to come back here. So if I purchase a secondhand vehicle, what am I purchasing? And was that vehicle taken care of? I don't know. But if I buy a vehicle brand new, I know that I'm going to take care of it. I know that I'm only going to take it to the dealership. I know the type of maintenance that I want to do to my vehicle. So therefore,
We'll
it's
take
good. It's
good
not going
care
to
of
be an
it.
issue. I'm going to definitely take good care of it. And
Right.
so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I would change, is start the loan process while you're in the US, so that way it's nice and easy, it's streamlined. Once you get the loan process, when you get here to Philippines, you go directly to the dealership and you're like, here you go, here's the cash, here's the whatever manager's check, I want the vehicle delivered to me within 5 days. So if we do it that way, we could have gotten the vehicle within probably 5 days, right?
Yeah. Had
Three
we
to
done
five
the
days
loan before we
had we done the
came,
loan became
we could have had the vehicle right away, 3 to 5 days. But it took us a total of 17 days from start till we drove our car, they delivered our car. I mean, we went through a bunch of different situations when you're looking to find the car. I mean, like we were talking to third party sellers, and it was just a lot.
Oh,
but
that's another thing we need to cover.
but it was really good to finally get our car. And then yes, here we are 4 months later, and we're still dealing with the car situation because of the title. But is that all done pretty much?
Yep, that's all done. Well, it's not all done. What it is I've sent the documentation. I gave me a deadline to send them like by 11 January, which is today is the 10th of
So we have
January.
one more day.
So we have
but we
one more
made
day,
it.
right?
We
We
made
made
it.
it. They replied back. They got the documentation. They just wanted to verify that if I'm still here in Philippines or not. And I said, yes, I'm still here in Philippines. They did not reply back with any additional information or things that I needed to do. So I am under the assumption that I don't have to do anything else. But I will give them a call within a week or so, and
Just to verify. Just but verify.
yeah, just to make sure. In fact, I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna make that phone call tomorrow.
And we'll always keep you guys in the loop of anything new that comes up with, like our moving in here to our lives in Philippines. I know there's a bunch of different topics I want to talk to you guys about since we moved to the Philippines, so you guys can know more about like what it's like to move here and some of the things that we've run into. I did want to tell you guys before we leave, this month our water bill was 1,500 peso and our electricity was 15,000 peso. What was the other one? Oh, our food is so cheap here. Like there's no, like, it's always under 400 US dollar period every month. It's always low. Doesn't matter how much we eat. We can never eat enough food to like make it really expensive. Yeah.
And so something else too, right? Since I've been dealing with the dealership, I finally took the vehicle in for service. So it's been 3 months, 4 months, and I've already put 12,000 kilometers on the SUV, right? Because we're just traveling all around. We've been to Batangas, we've been to Bicol, we've been to Baguio. We have trips going on to the Ilocos here soon, and we put a lot of miles in it. So when I purchased the vehicle, I bought a 5-year plan, right? And so when I purchased the vehicle, I thought that 5-year plan was going to be with the manufacturer recommendation service, which is when the service light comes on in the vehicle. Unfortunately, that's not how they do things here in Philippines. And how they do things here in Philippines is that every 10,000 kilometers, I have to take the vehicle in for service, which is like, I don't know, 6,000, maybe 5,000, 6,000 miles. And I'm like, what do you, I have to take it in every 5 to 6,000 miles. Like, that's kind of like counterproductive. That's not even what the manufacturer recommendation is. But unfortunately, that's what I bought into. I kind of like went back and forth with Toyota with Ford Metro Baguio, and I said, "Hey, that's not what I purchased. When the information that I signed never said that I had to bring it in every 10,000 kilometers. It just says that first 5 years, right, or 5 services. What you're telling me is that there's a service plan, and I have to bring it in every 10,000 kilometers. That's not what I signed. But I'm not going to be difficult, right? All I'm saying is that, hey, be careful when you purchase things. I thought that I was buying like the first 5 year service, but manufacturer recommendation. But what I bought was the first 5 year service dealership recommendation. Now the manufacturer and dealership recommendation for services can be totally different, but I feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick, because you're not, upon my research, you're not supposed to be doing um, services, oil changes on the vehicle until the service light inside the vehicle comes on. And that's one of the argument that I had, is like, why are you guys telling me as a dealership to bring in my vehicle every 10,000 kilometers when the manufacturer, Ford, put a service light on there that tracks when the engine life or the engine oil needs to be replaced? And they said, well, blah, 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 this is what happened. I just said, okay, that's fine. It's, potatoes, potatoes. That's my fault that I didn't read the fine print. It's not in the fine print, actually. It's not in the document that I signed, because I showed it to them. It's on another piece of paper that they showed me, which is like, all right, that's fine. Um, it's just something that I'm gonna eat up. But as soon as I am done with the 50,000 kilometers 5 year plan that they have at the dealership, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start following the manufacturer service recommendation. Something else too that I'm kind of like, there was two issues with the Ford Everest that we've had. One of them is that the pre-collision system while you're driving is that it automatically turns off, and it says, warning, pre-collision system is turned off. And I'm like, what is going on? The first time I dealt with that, I had to kind of continue driving until I got to the grocery store. I shut off the vehicle. I went and did what I did, and I was going to call Ford, but then I got back in, I turned on the vehicle, and it reset the system. Since that first time, it happened about 3, 4 more times, and I notified Ford Metro Baguio about the issue, and they said, you're not the first one that has told us that. We've done the system check, and there's nothing wrong with the system, but please continue to track it, right? But I'm like, wait, you guys knew that this was an issue? There's a Ford Pass that you guys can send a message to and say, hey, the pre-collision system might act in this manner. This is how you can resolve the problem. Like, I'm having to like look things up, read things up, watch YouTube, and figuring out if what I'm doing about the vehicle is good or not. And then the second thing is that Dee's going to tell you guys about.
So I sat in the back seat when we first got the vehicle, and I was trying to listen to some music, and I couldn't hear the radio from way back in the back. And so I told my husband, like, hey, can you like make the move? Can you move the music from the front to the rear? And so he's up there at the front trying to like figure it out, and the back speakers aren't working. And so I told Holbert, oh man, these speakers are broken.
So I went to the dealership and I said, hey, my second issue is this, right? I said, the third row seat speaker area where the holes are, we can't hear anything in them. So they were like, oh, okay, we'll look at it. So after being in the service for like 6 hours, they come back at the end and they're like, hey, we just want to let you know, none of the variants here in Philippines actually have speakers in those holes. It's just for aesthetics. I'm like, dude, Ford, what is going on, dude? Like, how are you going to put like little holes back there?
It's like fake speakers.
And, well, it's like where, and what the dealership told me is that that's where speakers go if you want to upgrade or add speakers. And I'm like, okay, so it's obviously I didn't buy the top of the line, but I'm supposed to have top of the line perks when you buy the Wild Track. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And what I'm being told is that if I want to add speakers, I would have to pay for additional money. Or add aftermarket speakers, which I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
No.
Yes. Another thing too, though,
Hit the like button, guys.
another thing too about the Ford Everest is that the tire that it comes with, and maybe it's my driving, maybe it's the roads, maybe
cheap tires.
It's the tires, right? But I've had to change the tire
four times
already.
We've had four flats.
Yeah, and
in less than 4 months.
So the kids and Davina were all getting superstitious. They're like, "It's your white shirt."
Every time he wears the white shirt, he has to change a tire. So this last vacation, I did not take the white shirt on purpose, and we still got a flat.
Yeah, and we still got a flat. But you know what though? Now I can get my tire changing into like 7 to 10 minutes.
Well, I was gonna say he gets his tire changing badge. The one expert.
Yeah,
he's an expert.
Like I'm a Boy Scout.
No, like soldier. Like no, 88 Mike rodeo. You got the expert.
So I just like the vehicle is nice. The ride is phenomenal. It goes through bumps, really cool. I think that's one of the first things that I'm going to replace on the vehicle.
Tires.
Is the tires. I want to add Meteor tires on
there. We need better tires.
And I am doing research right now, and there's a whole bunch of people here in Philippines that are putting I think the tire size right now is 265 55 R20. Right. And so I want to change it to either 275 55 R20 or 285 55 R20. I just want to make sure that I put it. I don't know if you guys know like which tire would be better on would fit the Everest. Please let me know. Put it on the comment section because I want to replace it. I mean, and the thing is too, something that I'm like in the back of my mind, I want to get as big of a tire that I can put on the that fits on the wheel well, but at the same time, it needs to fit the spare tire. Like what I mean? It needs to fit
that's
I can't just get too big like that. It might fit the wheel well, but then it doesn't fit the spare tire.
Well, I mean, if you go big, then you don't have to worry about no flats.
No, no. As many times that I have had to change the tire already, we need to have the spare tire. It doesn't even matter. And because think about it, what was we've usually drive at nighttime. What is the latest at night that I've had to change a tire?
Late at night. It was like 9:30 at night. No, maybe that one time in Pugo.
Yeah.
Pugo Adventure. We have been changing tires in the dark.
Yeah. So I've had to change a tire around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so, no, I am not. That's not a compromise. Not a compromise. I need a spare tire. I think that with that spare tire, what I'm going to have to do though, if we increase, because it's going to increase the height level of the vehicle, so I'm going to have to make it wider, do the offset. I might have to invest in
put the tire on the top.
No, we need a roof rack for that. But we are going to get a roof rack. But I need to get a higher jack so that way I can actually get the tire off the ground.
That's true.
Because if the clearance is higher, the jack that we have now that comes with the vehicle might be worthless.
Okay. Well, it seems like we need to go put these kids to sleep. So we still need to take care of our personal hygiene for the night.
All right, guys. Well, that is it. Today we pretty much walk you through the process of not only purchasing which vehicle, the issues we've been having a vehicle, issues we've had with a dealership, the process of us getting a loan through Navy Federal, and what we would do differently. If you guys have any questions at all, or there's a topic that you guys want us to cover, please let us know. I do want to let you guys know that if you are thinking about moving from the United States or anywhere else around the world to here in Philippines, as a father, as a husband, and I have 2 little kids, it has been the best decisions I have made for my family. And I am in control of kind of like it of what we're doing on a daily basis. I have more time. I'm retired. I make breakfast for them. I wake them up in the morning. I put them to sleep. I read them books. I take them to school. We pick them up for lunch. We spend time at lunchtime. We take them to school again after lunch. We pick them up after school. And then from there, we are able to afford, getting assistance here at the house, personal tutors, 1 hour a day for our kids each. And it's just like financially, it's everything here is a lot cheaper. And the thing is, our kids acclimating appropriately, yeah, they don't have a problem at all. Actually, they're having a blast. They're having fun.
If anything, they're closer to their mother and father because like they're respectful, they're kind, and they ask for things, appropriately. And like right now, my son just came in and he's like, "Mom, can I organize my room a little longer? I know it's almost bedtime, but I really want to spend time organizing my stuff." Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So, it's great. I'm finding a lot more time and like doing things around the house that I wouldn't have had the chance to do in the United States. And one of those things that I've recently done was basically put these shelves in my son's room so that way he can put his toys up. Like right now he's into cartoons. He watches Naruto, My Hero Academia. He's into Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super. And like he's got these figurines and he's got toy cars that he wants to put up there. And
and he's been making Legos and all this stuff.
So he wants to put all his artwork on display, and my daughter's the same thing, the same way. I don't think I would have had the chance to do that in the United States, especially with how busy we were. But here in Philippines, I think that my wife and I have gotten closer. Yeah, I mean, the last argument we had was today. Actually, we argued about, hey, you should keep some money with you, right? And it's not.
We didn't really argue.
We didn't argue. It was more like, hey, can you keep some money on you, so that way we can divide and conquer and kind of do grocery
I
shopping.
told him I like to hang out with my sugar daddy. I don't want to go anywhere without you.
And I told her, I said, hey, I quit all my sugar. No more sugar.
So he's like, we're lowering our sugar intake. And I was like, you're still my sugar daddy.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Again, if there's any topic that you want us to cover at all, please feel free to let us know in the comment section. And we will see you guys next time. Carpe diem.
Seize the day. All right.